Violet Chen stood before the mirror in her childhood bedroom, smoothing down the ivory lace of her wedding gown. The morning sunlight streamed through the windows, casting golden patterns across the hardwood floor. Her mother, Rebecca, adjusted the delicate veil that cascaded down Violet's back, tears already forming in her eyes. Today was supposed to be the beginning of everything beautiful. Violet had spent 5 years with Derek Harrison, watching him build his architecture firm from nothing into one of Chicago's most respected design companies. They had met at a charity gala where Violet was photographing the event. Derek had approached her, asking about her camera, and they had talked for hours about art, design, and their dreams for the future. The ceremony at St. Catherine's Church was filled with 200 guests, their faces glowing with joy and anticipation. White roses adorned every pew, and the scent of jasmine filled the air. Violet walked down the aisle, her heart racing with happiness as she saw Derek waiting at the altar in his perfectly tailored navy suit. His dark hair was neatly combed, and his smile seemed genuine as he watched her approach. The ceremony proceeded flawlessly. They exchanged vows that Derek had written himself, promising eternal love and unwavering commitment. When the priest pronounced them husband and wife, Derek kissed her gently, and the church erupted in applause. Violet felt like she was floating, completely unaware that her life was about to shatter into a million pieces. The reception begins. The reception at the Grand Pavilion was elegant and sophisticated, exactly as Violet had envisioned. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, and a live jazz band played softly in the corner. Derek held her close during their first dance, whispering sweet words in her ear. Her best friend Caroline caught the bouquet, laughing joyfully. Everything seemed absolutely perfect. Violet's father, Thomas, gave a touching speech about how Derek had asked for his blessing, how he had seen the love in the young man's eyes. Derek's business partner, James, shared amusing stories about how distracted Derek had been while planning the proposal. The cake was cut, champagne flowed freely, and guests danced beneath the twinkling lights. The disappearance around 8 in the evening. Derek excused himself to take an urgent phone call. He kissed Violet's cheek and promised to return in 5 minutes. She continued mingling with guests, accepting congratulations and posing for photographs. 10 minutes passed, then 20. Violet began to feel uneasy. She asked James if he had seen Derek, but he shook his head, looking confused. Caroline offered to help search, and they checked the bathrooms, the lobby, and even the parking lot. Derek's car was gone. Violet felt her chest tighten as panic began to set in. She called his phone repeatedly, but each call went straight to voicemail. Guests started noticing the bride standing alone, her smile fading. The horrible truth: by 9 o'clock, the reception had dissolved into worried whispers and awkward departures. Violet sat in a chair near the head table, still in her wedding dress, unable to process what was happening. Her mother sat beside her, holding her hand tightly. Thomas was on the phone with the police, though they explained that an adult missing for only an hour was not considered an emergency. Caroline suggested checking their apartment, and they drove there in silence. The place was empty. Derek's clothes were gone, his laptop was missing, and his toothbrush had been removed from the bathroom. It looked as though he had never lived there at all. Violet sank to the floor, her wedding dress pooling around her like a broken cloud. This was not an accident or an emergency. Derek had planned this. He had married her and then vanished. Days of darkness the following week passed in a blur of humiliation and heartbreak. Violet could not eat or sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of their relationship in her mind. Had there been signs she missed? Had Derek ever truly loved her? Caroline stayed with her, bringing soup that went untouched and tissues that were quickly soaked through. Social media exploded with speculation. Some people pitied Violet. Others whispered that she must have done something to drive him away. The wedding photographer, a colleague of Violet's, offered to delete all the images, but Violet refused. She wanted to remember this pain, to never forget how completely she had been fooled. The mysterious letter on the 10th day after the wedding, thick cream envelope, arrived at Violet's apartment. It had no return address, only her name written in elegant calligraphy. Inside was a single sheet of expensive paper with a typed message. Dear Violet, you do not know me, But I know what happened to you. Derek Harrison is not who you think he is. His disappearance was not random, and you deserve answers. More importantly, you deserve justice. I am prepared to help you rebuild your life, but you must trust me. In 3 months, someone will contact you with an offer. Accept it. This is my promise to you. A friend. Violet read the letter 3 times, her hands trembling. Who would send such a thing? What did they know about Derek? And what kind of offer could possibly help her now? A spark of determination for the first time since the wedding. Violet felt something other than despair. Anger began to burn in her chest, hot and fierce. She had been humiliated, abandoned, and betrayed. But this letter suggested there was more to the story. Derek had not simply changed his mind. Something bigger was happening, something she did not yet understand. Violet stood and walked to the mirror, looking at her reflection. Her eyes were red and swollen, her hair uncombed, her face pale. But beneath the pain, she saw a flicker of the strong woman she used to be. She would wait for this mysterious contact. She would discover the truth. And somehow, she would find a way to survive this nightmare. Violet Chen stood in her small studio apartment, packing camera equipment into weathered bags. 3 months had passed since the wedding disaster, and she had slowly begun piecing her life back together. She had thrown herself into her photography work, taking every assignment she could find. Weddings were too painful, so she focused on corporate events, family portraits, and commercial shoots. The work kept her busy, kept her mind occupied, kept the memories at bay. Her savings account was nearly empty. The wedding had cost a fortune, and Derek had contributed nothing before disappearing. Violet had been too proud to ask her parents for money, knowing they had already spent so much on the ceremony. She had sold her engagement ring, the diamond catching light one final time, before a pawnshop owner handed her a check that felt like blood money. The unexpected call. Violet was editing photos on her laptop when her phone rang. The number was unfamiliar, local but not saved in her contacts. She almost ignored it, but something made her answer. Hello, a smooth, professional voice responded. Miss Chen, my name is Patricia Holloway. I represent a private client who wishes to meet with you. Are you available tomorrow afternoon at 2? Violet felt her heart skip. The mysterious letter from 3 months ago flashed through her mind. Who is your client? She asked carefully. His name is Gabriel Stone. He is a businessman and philanthropist. He has a proposal that may interest you greatly. Patricia's tone was polite, but revealed nothing. Violet hesitated, every instinct screaming caution. But curiosity and desperation won. Where should I meet him? The impressive office the next day, Violet arrived at a sleek downtown building made entirely of glass and steel. The lobby was marble and chrome, intimidatingly modern. She wore her best navy dress and the pearl earrings her grandmother had given her, wanting to appear confident, even though her hands trembled slightly. Patricia met her in the lobby, a tall woman in her 50s with silver hair and a kind smile. She led Violet to a private elevator that required a key card. They rode to the 20th floor in silence. The elevator doors opened directly into an enormous office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Violet caught her breath. The space was minimalist but luxurious, with expensive art on the walls and furniture that looked like it belonged in a museum. Meeting Gabriel Stone, a man stood with his back to her, looking out at the skyline. He turned slowly, and Violet found herself facing someone completely unexpected. Gabriel Stone appeared to be in his early 40s, with silver-streaked dark hair and piercing gray eyes. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him perfectly, and there was something magnetic about his presence. But it was his expression that caught her attention. He looked at her with recognition, as though he already knew everything about her. Miss Chen, thank you for coming, he said, his voice deep and calm. Please, sit down. Would you like coffee or tea? Violet shook her head, sitting in the leather chair across from his desk. You sent the letter, she said. It was not a question. The unusual offer. Gabriel smiled slightly, neither confirming nor denying. He sat down and folded his hands on the desk. I know what happened on your wedding day. I know that Derek Harrison abandoned you without explanation, leaving you with debt, humiliation, and unanswered questions. Violet felt heat rise to her cheeks. Why do you care? Gabriel leaned back in his chair, studying her. Because I believe in correcting injustices. Derek wronged you terribly, and I am in a position to help you recover. I am prepared to offer you $1 million. The words hung in the air like something impossible. Violet stared at him, certain she had misheard. Excuse me? She whispered. $1 million, Gabriel repeated calmly. Enough to pay off your debts, rebuild your business, and start fresh. All I ask in return is that you accept certain conditions. Conditions. Violet felt dizzy. $1 million was an unimaginable sum. It could change everything. But nothing in life came free, especially not from mysterious millionaires. What conditions? She asked, her voice steadier than she felt. Gabriel stood and walked to the window. First, you must agree not to contact Derek Harrison or seek him out in any way. Second, you will work for me for 1 year as my personal photographer, documenting my business ventures and charitable projects. Third, you will not ask me questions about why I am helping you until the year is complete. Violet processed this information slowly. The conditions seemed reasonable on the surface, but something felt off. Why would you do this? You do not even know me. Gabriel turned to face her. That is one of the questions you have agreed not to ask. Growing suspicion, Violet stood, pacing the office as her mind raced. This was too convenient, too perfectly timed. You knew exactly when to contact me. You knew about my financial situation? You have been watching me. Gabriel did not deny it. I have been keeping track of your situation, yes. I wanted to ensure you were ready for this conversation. Something cold settled in Violet's stomach. How do you know Derek? What is your connection to him? Gabriel's expression remained neutral. That is another question you must wait to have answered. I understand your hesitation, Miss Chen. This is a significant decision. Take the weekend to consider. Patricia will give you a contract to review. If you agree, we will transfer the money immediately. The internal struggle. Violet left the building in a daze, clutching the thick legal document Patricia had handed her. She sat in a coffee shop for hours, reading every word of the contract. It was legitimate, drafted by expensive lawyers. Gabriel Stone was offering exactly what he had promised. No hidden clauses, no tricks that she could detect. But the mystery gnawed at her. Who was this man? How did he know Derek? Why was he so invested in helping her? Caroline met her that evening, and Violet explained everything. Her friend listened carefully, then shook her head. This is either the best thing that ever happened to you, or a trap. But honestly, what do you have to lose? You are already at rock bottom. Violet knew she was right. She had nothing left to protect, nothing left to risk. The decision on Monday morning, Violet returned to Gabriel's office. He was waiting as though he had known she would come back. She placed the signed contract on his desk. I accept your offer, but I want you to know something. I will find out the truth. Gabriel smiled, and for the first time she saw genuine warmth in his eyes. I would expect nothing less from you, Miss Chen. In fact, I am counting on your determination. It is one of the reasons I chose you. He stood and extended his hand. Violet shook it, feeling the firm grip. Welcome to your new life. I promise you, by the end of this year, everything will make sense. New beginning. The money arrived in Violet's account the next day. She stared at the balance on her phone screen, unable to believe it was real. $1 million. She paid off every debt, settled the wedding expenses, and invested in new camera equipment. For the first time in months, she could breathe without the crushing weight of financial panic. But as she prepared for her first assignment with Gabriel, photographing a charity gala he was hosting, doubt crept back in. This man had bought her loyalty for a year. He held secrets about Derek that he refused to share. And somehow, she knew that when the truth finally emerged, it would change everything she thought she understood about her ruined wedding day. Violet had spent 6 months working as Gabriel Stone's personal photographer, and the experience had been nothing like she expected. She had documented charity events where Gabriel donated millions to children's hospitals, photographed groundbreaking ceremonies for affordable housing projects, and captured moments of him meeting with community leaders. He was generous, thoughtful, and seemed genuinely committed to making the world better. Yet he remained an enigma. He never spoke about his personal life, never mentioned family or friends, and deflected any question that came close to revealing why he had helped her. Violet had photographed him dozens of times, studied his face through her lens, and still felt like she knew nothing about who he truly was. The accidental discovery one rainy afternoon. Violet arrived at Gabriel's office early for a scheduled meeting. Patricia was away from her desk, and the office door stood slightly open. Violet knocked, but there was no answer. She pushed the door open and stepped inside, calling Gabriel's name. The office was empty, but something caught her attention. On his desk lay an open folder with photographs spilling out. Violet knew she should not look, knew she was violating his privacy. But her photographer's eye was drawn to the images. She stepped closer and felt her breath catch in her throat. The photographs were of Derek, dozens of them taken over several years. Derek at restaurants, Derek entering buildings, Derek with other women. Her hands shook as she picked up one image showing Derek with a beautiful red-headed woman. Both of them laughing, confronting Gabriel. "I wondered when you would find those," Gabriel's voice came from the doorway. Violet spun around, clutching the photograph. Gabriel stood there, his expression unreadable. He closed the door behind him and walked to his desk. "You have been following him," Violet said, her voice trembling with anger and confusion. "For how long? Why?" Gabriel took the photograph from her hands and placed it back in the folder. "Sit down, Violet. You have waited 6 months. I think it is time you learned the truth." Violet sank into the chair, her heart pounding. Gabriel poured 2 glasses of water and handed one to her before sitting across from her. His gray eyes held a sadness she had never seen before, the shocking connection 20 years ago. "I was married," Gabriel began, his voice quiet. Her name was Christina. She was kind, talented, and full of life. We had been married for only 2 years when she died in a car accident. He paused, and Violet saw pain flash across his face. Or so I thought. 5 years after her death, I discovered something that destroyed me. Christina had not died in an accident. She had faked her death and run away with another man. That man was Derek Harrison's father, Richard Harrison. Violet felt the room tilt. "What?" Gabriel nodded slowly. "Richard was my business partner, my closest friend. They had been having an affair for months. Together, they staged Christina's death, collected her life insurance, and disappeared. I spent years searching for them, consumed by rage and grief." The pattern revealed Gabriel stood and walked to the window, his back to Violet. "I eventually found them living in Seattle under different names. Richard had died of a heart attack, but Christina was still alive. When I confronted her, she showed no remorse. She said she had never loved me, that I had been convenient, that marrying me had given her access to money and status while she waited for her true love." The word convenient hit Violet like a physical blow. She remembered the letter mentioning Derek was not who she thought he was. "Derek learned this behavior from his father," she whispered. Gabriel turned to face her. "Richard Harrison taught his son that women were tools to be used. Derek has done this before. The redhead in the photograph is named Olivia Bennett. He proposed to her 3 years ago, married her, and disappeared on their wedding night. Before her, there was another woman named Rachel Kim. The pattern is always the same." The real reason Violet felt sick. "You knew Derek would do this to me. You knew, and you let it happen." Gabriel's expression filled with genuine regret. "No, I suspected he might, but I was not certain. I had been tracking Derek for 2 years, documenting his movements, trying to understand if he was truly like his father. When I learned he was engaged to you, I wanted to warn you. But I had no proof, and I knew you would not believe a stranger." He sat down heavily. "I hired a private investigator to watch Derek. The night of your wedding, we discovered he had been communicating with a woman named Vanessa Chen. She is wealthy, connected, and had recently ended another relationship. Derek saw an opportunity." Violet felt tears streaming down her face. "He married me to make her jealous. Just like in the example you somehow knew about." The promise explained. Gabriel reached across the desk and gently took Violet's hand. "I sent you that letter because I wanted you to have hope. I wanted you to know that someone cared about what happened to you. My promise was not just about money. It was about giving you the tools to rebuild your life so that Derek's cruelty would not define you. Violet pulled her hand away, standing abruptly. You used me too. You brought me here, made me work for you. All so you could what? Get revenge on Derek through me. Gabriel shook his head firmly. No. I brought you here because I saw myself in you. I saw someone whose life had been shattered by the Harrison family's selfishness. I wanted to give you what no one gave me after Christina left. A second chance, support, resources, time to heal. The choice Violet paced the office, her mind racing. Everything made sense now. Gabriel's mysterious help, the conditions of the contract, his refusal to explain until now. He had been protecting her while also satisfying his need to understand the son of the man who had destroyed his life. What do you want from me now? She asked, stopping in front of his desk. Do you want me to help you expose Derek? To ruin him the way his father ruined you? Gabriel stood and walked to a filing cabinet. He pulled out another folder and placed it on the desk. Inside were documents, photographs, and evidence of Derek's pattern of abuse. I have everything needed to expose him, to ensure he never hurts another woman this way. But the decision is yours, Violet. You are the one he hurt most recently. You get to choose what happens next. Violet's decision. Violet stared at the evidence, her hands hovering over the folder. Every fiber of her being wanted revenge. She wanted Derek to suffer, to feel the humiliation and pain he had inflicted on her and the other women. But as she looked at Gabriel, she saw what revenge had done to him. 20 years of his life spent tracking Christina and the Harrison family. 20 years of being unable to move forward, trapped in the past. She closed the folder and pushed it back across the desk. No, she said firmly, I will not let Derek Harrison take any more of my life. Exposing him will not change what happened. It will not give me back the time I lost or heal the pain I felt. It will just keep me connected to him. Gabriel looked surprised. You do not want justice? Violet smiled, and it was the first genuine smile she had felt in months. I want freedom. I want to build a life that has nothing to do with Derek or his lies. You gave me the resources to do that. The $1 million, the photography work, the time to heal. That is enough. She picked up her camera bag. My contract is almost over. When it ends, I am going to travel. I am going to photograph the world, tell stories that matter, and find out who I am without Derek's shadow hanging over me. Gabriel's stern expression softened. You are wiser than I was at your age. Than I am even now. He extended his hand again. It has been an honor working with you, Violet Chen. 6 months later,